Today in this video, I'm going to show you how I live a middle-class lifestyle on less than half the cost, on less than $30,000 per year. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now let's get started. Let's first talk about what is actual middle-class spending. Well, I can go ahead and look at the census data. On there, they say the median gross household income is $70,784. If we estimate using the average federal tax rate and FICA tax rate, we can go ahead and take away some of those taxes because they're not spending all of their gross annual income, right? They don't get to unfortunately spend all of that. So we can go ahead and take away some of that. After federal income tax and FICA taxes, we are left with the median household income of $57,286. All right, and for the example state that I'm going to be using here, I'm going to be using the second most populous state of Texas. And a good reason why I'm using Texas is they have no state income tax. So we don't have to adjust this income down any further using state income tax. Given those numbers, I think it's reasonable to assess that the median household spending is probably somewhere around $55,000 to $65,000, right? Because there can be, a small little range within that median income. Half is above, half is below. I think somewhere around $55,000 to $65,000 is probably somewhere around the average median household spending. And the point of this video is that I'm going to show you how I live a similar lifestyle to someone spending that amount while only spending around $28,000 per year. And by the way, I have another great video on how I think that actually living a retired life, being financially independent and early retired actually costs so much less than actually working for a living. Okay, so I'm going to mention that video again at the end of this video, so please make sure you stay to the end. But the way we are going to do this is we are going to start chopping down that median household spending, all right? So I'm going to be using some basically adjustments on how I can live a similar lifestyle while not spending that same amount of money. All right, the first one I'm going to talk about is I don't have any job expenses. For this estimate, I'm going to estimate that it costs about $2,000 per year of expenses on just having a job. And this is probably one of the ones that's harder to quantify because it's highly going to depend on where you work, on what profession you work in, and all this stuff. So I used a nice small number just to be a little conservative here of $2,000 per year. And this is meant to count commuting, clothing, education, membership dues, and any like restaurants that you have just because you are at work. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this adjustment. We'll start with that $60,000 of median spending minus $2,000 leaves us with now $58,000. The next adjustment we are going to take is the state income tax. So I mentioned that the person lives in Texas, which has no state income tax. Well, if you are working for a living, you might not be able to live in a state with no income tax. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. There are almost like 43 of them, I believe, that do have a state income tax. So let's go ahead and take a state income tax adjustment because once you are retired, financially independent, you no longer have to live in a state with income tax if you don't want to. We're going to go ahead and take an adjustment of $5,000 per year. Since I live in a state with no state income tax, I think I'm saving about $5,000 per year compared to the median household. And I try to do my best on trying to find how much people are actually paying in state income taxes. So this source says that the average state income tax is 8.9%, and that seems extremely high. So my guess is that there are a few very high income tax states that are driving that average up a lot. So it's probably a lot less, like the median state income tax is probably a lot less than 8.9%. But let's go ahead and say that this represents the total state tax burden because states have different kinds of taxes, not just income tax. So the total state tax burden. So let's say you move to a state with a very low tax burden. So not only is it income tax, but we're just talking about total state taxes. So if you're able to move to that low one, I'm saying that you're going to be saving $5,000 per year by me living in a low tax state, not just a no income tax state. The state of Tennessee, I am in a low tax burden state. So we can go ahead and take this adjustment now. We had $58,000 left over minus $5,000, and now we are left with $53,000. We have plenty more adjustments to make, but really quick, I just want to say that I put a lot of time and research into making these videos, and I would really appreciate it if you just really quickly hit the like button on this video. It really does help me out, and I really do appreciate that. But our next adjustment is going to be a fun one, and that is for travel. So I'm able to use credit card travel rewards in order to get a lot of quote unquote free travel, right? I'm going to get a lot of value just by using credit card points rather than spending my own money out of pocket in order to travel, get some flights, hotels, and all this kind of good stuff. So I estimate that I get at least $5,000 per year of benefits by using credit card travel rewards. And someone just living a normal, everyday, middle-class lifestyle is probably going to have to pay out of pocket that $5,000 of benefits in order to, have their annual vacation or their biannual vacation or whatever. And by the way, if you're interested in travel, credit card rewards and stuff, I do have another video on that as well. So look for that video if you're interested. For my personal strategy, I only actually use like 2 or 3 credit cards per year. and use the bonuses from those 2 or 3 credit cards per year in order to get at least $5,000 in travel benefit. So let's go ahead and make the adjustment here. By getting travel rewards using credit cards for free rather than paying out of pocket, we can adjust the spending down by $5,000. We left off with $53,000 minus $5,000 is now $48,000. The next adjustment that we are going to make here is having a paid off car. So I have one vehicle and it is completely paid off, so no car payments. So I'm going to make an adjustment of $6,000 for not having a car payment. So if you look up, the average car payment is actually over $500 per month. It is well over $500 per month, but I am trying to be a little more conservative here. So I am only using $500 per month times 12, which is $6,000. And I am personally extremely happy not having a car payment. Many years ago, I bought my 2011 Toyota Prius in cash. And so I've never had a car payment for those many years ago that I bought it. And I'm very happy with that decision. So let's go ahead and make this adjustment now by not having any car payments. We left off with $48,000 and we're going to adjust downwards by another $6,000. We are now at $42,000. The next adjustment is going to be federal income tax. Now, I already took out federal income tax and FICA tax from the gross household income, around $8,000, I think is what I took out. So I don't have to subtract it again, but I'm just letting you know that federal income tax was also adjusted. By being retired, by being financially independent, I have a very, very low federal income tax bill. In fact, I have a $0 federal income tax bill if I want it to be $0 because I'm able to make my income fit into the brackets where it needs to be in order to be $0. So that's another one that I just had to mention here. The next adjustment I have is going to be the biggest adjustment so far. But before I move on to that, this leads me to the big question. I want to know from you in the comments below. Do you think that this is realistic? Do you think that making these adjustments is fair to equating a middle-class lifestyle while spending a lot less money? Do you think it's possible to spend less than half of the median household income and still live a similar lifestyle? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. But getting back to my biggest adjustment here, that is having a paid off home. And for having no mortgage, I'm going to adjust it down by $12,000 or $1,000 per month. And looking up the data, it says that the median mortgage payment is just over $1,000 per month, which I think is kind of crazy because as we all know, with housing prices increasing dramatically in the past few years, along with inflation and values going up like that, as well as interest rates, we probably know that the new median household mortgage amount is way over that amount. But taking the median of all outstanding mortgages, apparently it's just over $1,000 per month. So I'm only going to make an adjustment of $12,000. I happen to have bought my house in 2020. And during that time, I guess I had really good timing and I didn't even know it because housing prices, while they were still going up, pretty fast in that time, they were nothing compared to the next few years that happened after 2020. And so I got lucky and I was able to purchase my home for $110,000 in cash. And this left me with no rent payment, no mortgage payment. And so that is a big adjustment I can make to my median spending. So I'm going to take an adjustment of $12,000. We left off with $42,000 minus $12,000. Now puts us all the way down to $30,000 per year of annual spending. And this might leave you wondering, can you actually live a pretty good lifestyle, even with all those adjustments, on $30,000? And I believe the answer is very much yes. Very much so, yes. Another good way I'm able to live a pretty good, middle-class lifestyle on less than $30,000 is I live in a low cost of living area. So I actually performed geographic arbitrage throughout the United States, and I moved from a high cost of living area to a low cost of living area. And if you actually want to put numbers to it, you can actually look up what the current city that you live in, what index it is at. So 100 being the average across the United States, is the city that you live in above that or below that? So for example, if you move from a city with an index of 105 to a city with 95, that is a 10% decrease in the average cost of living between those two areas. You would estimate that your expenses might go down by about 10%. So I did something similar to that. I moved from Southern California to Eastern Tennessee, and the amount of difference between those two is quite dramatic. And so by living in a low cost of living area while being retired, I'm able to make that same amount of money, the $30,000, stretch much further. So I can go ahead and make a 10% adjustment to that $30,000 because I live in a low cost of living area. And that puts me right there at $27,000, really close to what I currently spend. That is how you can go from making $70,000 per year of gross income and actually only need to spend $27,000 per year. If you're able to take all of those adjustments and adjust your spending downwards, I believe you can live a middle-class lifestyle on dramatically less. And by the way, in order to strengthen this argument further, I have another video that I want you to watch. It's about how living a retired lifestyle costs much less than actually working for a living. Okay, that video is gonna pop up on the screen right after I get off the screen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time. As well as interest rates, we know that the new, and now you might be wondering, another way I am able to live a pretty good median, the next one,